right, who wants to join the Knights Templar? And the greatest enemy of all dictators, dysentery! Okay, I like this. This was great the way that this happened. One of our friends of ActionFest, Jay, lives in Charlotte, and as soon, Jay, are you here?
Yes.
Yes. There we go, Jay. As soon as we announced our opening film, sends me this email. Okay, this is the weirdest. The fight director, stunt coordinator for that film, actually for Ironclad, actually lives in Charlotte. I'm like, okay, that is really weird. If we can get him here, that would be amazing. And let me tell you, this man's resume, you've seen his work in, well, not many people have seen Solomon Kane yet, also starring Jake Spurfoot, Solomon Kane, The Eagle, Stardust, Troy, Sherlock Holmes, and of course, Dark Knight. Let's hear it for the stunt coordinator for Ironclad, Richard Ryan! And the original plan was to have him out in the parking lot giving our foam weapon warriors proper fighting directions. But unfortunately, you had a little bit of action getting here.
Yeah, I had a blowout on the tyre as I was coming up 74, so that's why I was late and missed the beginning.
Well, we've got him here now. So I want to ask you, okay, what's your history? How did you go, you're originally a stage combat director, and you've kind of gone into film. What started you into that role, working on stage, choreographing combat, and what's the difference between doing that live and then doing it for film?
There's a lot there. I trained to be an actor, and I knew nothing about stage combat. I'm not even sure I thought how they did it on stage or film. And one of the classes we had at drama school was stage combat in a little scout hut in North London. And as we went in, there was a fella about my build with sword in one hand, cigarette in the other, by the name of William Hobbs, who, for those of you who know action films, know William Hobbs from the Three Musketeers, Four Musketeers of the 70s. Well, countless films, countless really good ones. So I was just lucky that I had him as my teacher. And from that, when I left drama school, I sort of fought and died in many plays, and then making it close to the end of the play, but never quite making the end. And then from there, started to cover teaching and started to do fights of my own on stage shows, and then it grew from there. And then about nearly 10 years ago, 2003, Simon Crane, who's a stunt coordinator, was putting together a team for Troy. And he didn't have anybody he knew who could do the fights, and he did a search through the UK. And I had to go in and do an audition, put together a fight, and he came in and had a look at it, made a couple of suggestions, which of course I took on board because he was going to be the boss. And that sort of started me on this route, doing more and more film.
So when you're doing fights on stage, I mean, that's both on camera and stage, you're kind of at the style mercy of the director. Was there something that you always try to bring to combat on stage, and what's the difference between it just being performed live for an audience as opposed to, I mean, you don't have the mercy of doing takes and reshoots, so what's it like to be able to deliver realistic combat on stage?
In many ways it's more difficult because you have to get your two actors up to speed and able to perform the fight live, and they only get one take every night, which they have to do the whole thing in a big master. So in many ways it's more difficult because you've got to build them up to that. At least with film, it's a different pressure, but at least you have the luxury of being able to do a different take if they don't get it on that first one. Beyond that, the creative part of it is pretty much the same. You still want to try and make the fight fit the situation and fit the narrative and make it as believable as possible if that's what the piece demands, or whatever the reality of that piece is. So for instance, like in Stardust, it has to be true to that world they're creating.
What's it like, how do you find training? I mean, do most actors actually have a basic kind of combat training? How easy is it to turn them into killing machines?
That varies enormously. I mean, obviously at any audition, the actor is going to say, yeah, I can fight. I was the best in my class at drama school. I would, wouldn't you? Till you got the job, and then I get a phone call saying, Richard, I need to practice. It varies. Some of them, like James Purefoy, is terrific. I mean, he really sort of rolls his sleeves up, comes to rehearsals, puts the hours in, has a lot of input as to how he thinks his character should be within the fights, which is great, because it gives you, as otherwise you're sort of working in the dark on what you think they would like to do. And others of them, they come in for 20 minutes and then they want to go, and they're not really keen on doing them at all. And you just have to hope that you can double them. So it varies. I mean, I've had actors who never got it right once until the camera rolled, and then got it perfectly. Which,
and you're not going to name names, are you?
Well, I'm happy to on that because he got it right, which was Sir Ben Kingsley on The Last Legion. Never once during rehearsals, and then as soon as the camera was turning, he went into action. Beautiful actor.
What's Christian Bale like when it comes to combat for Dark Knight?
Again, he's another one who puts in the hours. He's very good. We had him for training during the pre-production part of it, and we get him and we teach him the fights, and then it became apparent that the fights would change quite a lot on the day depending upon the situation and what Chris Nolan would like to shoot when he got there. So Christian then started to come late to rehearsals, so he only had to learn one fight rather than learn it, forget it, learn another. But he was very good. He was very quick studying. Because of the work we'd done in the pre-production, in early rehearsals, he was able to pick up and do what he needed to do. So he was fun to work with.
When I went in to go see Sherlock Holmes, I had reservations after I saw the trailers. I'm like, oh, this looks like steampunk Sherlock Holmes. What the hell? But as soon as the fight scene started, just like the boxing match where Robert Downey pinpoints what he's going to do. How much of that was Guy Ritchie's thinking? What did you bring to that fight scene? Because I mean, it just starts with a great bang, and then the sword work is amazing. So, can you talk about how that scene was set up?
Yeah, Guy had very strong ideas of how he would like it to work, and he had that device already in mind. So what we were able to do was play with it in the pre-production period, try different versions of how the fight might work, and then Robert, who's got 7 years of Wing Chun Kung Fu training, so he's a very quick study and also has a lot of stuff to be able to contribute. So, and of course Guy is also a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, so it was probably the most skilled creative team I had looking over my shoulder ever. But again, Guy had a lot of ideas. He knows what he wants with that, and because he's also very good in terms of his eye for whether or not he thinks it's going to play, whether it's going to be believable. And I mean, we've just finished the second one about a month ago, and I think we're going to come up with some stuff that's equally fun for that. Got the two actors punching each other in this one.
What can you tell us about making Ironclad? Where was it shot, and what kind of crew did you have? Was it a crew that you had worked with before, like as far as the stunt performers?
We shot Ironclad in Wales, and the crew was, the whole film was a largely Hungarian and UK production, and the whole stunt crew were from Hungary, so I hadn't picked any of them before. I hadn't worked with any of them. I was able to bring in one guy to be my assistant coordinator who I had worked with in the past, but that was it. The Hungarian guys worked really hard for me. I was really pleased with them, and I managed to bring in 10 extra guys from the UK as fight performers. By the end of it, they had developed a drinking game, so when they watch this, when they see themselves take a mortal wound or a serious wound, they take a shot. Because my friend Paul died, we counted when we saw the cast and crew showing in London, he died 15 times. Twice in the same fight on the stairwell where Jamie's running down. Jamie kills him twice in that same fight. It was, I say, it was shot in Wales, where we had rain for pretty much the whole period, which was made the director Jonathan very happy because that helped him with the look of things. And we had, as you saw, 7 actors as our main sort of team, plus others all getting into the action. So, and my 10 Hungarian stuntmen had to double all of them. So at some point there was 7 of them on horseback, and then they were coming, getting ready to fight all the hordes of people, which was 3 stuntmen at that point. So Peter Evanson, who did the editing, did a very good job as far as I'm concerned.
Do we have any questions from the audience here? Yes.
I heard it took about 8 months for Brad Pitt and Eric Bana to train. Is that correct for that big fight in Troy?
Sort of. By the time we finished, I mean, I started that fight in March. I started teaching it to Brad in late April, maybe early May, and then we shot it in December. We were due to shoot it in August, but Hurricane Ignacio hit Cabo San Lucas, where we were then filming, and knocked about a 50-meter section out of the walls of Troy, the bit with the gate, the only bit we needed, so Eric Bana could come through. So yes, I mean, they were ready before then. We had a sort of hiatus because they had to rebuild that, and then Brad Pitt hurt his foot. I mean, it was put out. It was the Achilles tendon, but I don't know for sure. I wasn't in the consulting room, but I mean, he definitely hurt his foot. That's for sure.
I just read this past week that I guess The Dark Knight Rises is starting production in Pittsburgh. Will you be working on that film?
I don't think so. It's a largely different stunt team on that. It's a different stunt coordinator. So, and I'm not usually part of his team, so I don't think so. I mean, if I get the call, I'd be happy to do it, but...
In real life, who wins that fight, Eric Bana or Brad Pitt?
For the EPK, for the press kit for that, which was the first one of those I'd ever done, the publicity guy sitting me down, he's asking me questions, and then halfway through he sort of asked pretty much the same question. So, who's the best then, Eric or Brad? The blood drained from my face. I was like, I can't answer that, I'll never work again. I think it ended the way it should have.
Do we have anyone else here? Don't be shy. Line it up. There we go. Yes?
At what point in training for fight sequences do you make the determination whether or not you're going to go with the actor or go with the stunt double? And then how do you break the news to the actor that you're not using?
It's quite late, but if they're not very good at all, I will be talking to the director as we go along and saying, we need to be prepared to shoot on the double on this one, and we will shoot on the actor, and we will also shoot on the double. So, no matter how ropey it might be with the actor, we'll still do that take, we'll still shoot on them, and get what we can, and then add to it what we can get with the double, and what's used on the reverse on the other actor. So, you'll get them to do as much as possible.
And anyone else? Final round here. Well, I'm going to ask, why Charlotte? You're not originally from these parts. Why Charlotte?
You could tell that then. I won't make my wife stand up, but I might make her wave. I got married and my wife is from Charlotte, so we decided that was as good a place as any to be, and so we moved over there.
Well, it's great to have you here.